Today, I'll share with you some fascinating and provocative theories. We will explore concepts that suggest we may not originate from Earth. There are theories questioning whether the Moon is truly a natural satellite or, on the contrary, an artificial structure created to monitor and influence humanity. Even more alarming is the suggestion that we might be under the dominion of an advanced extraterrestrial civilization, which considers us part of a sinister diet. At first glance, it may seem like a set of conspiracy theories, and many arguments we will present are indeed viewed in that way by the academic community. However, there are questions, data, and even hints that challenge the foundations of what we believe to be true. I invite you to join us on this intriguing journey. Perhaps this is your chance to discover true freedom. Our starting point is the pre-lunar civilizations. This term may sound strange, given that current scientific theories state that the Moon formed about 4 billion years ago when Earth was still a young planet, and Homo sapiens, or any other form of complex life, did not yet exist. However, ancient documents, including texts from renowned Greek philosophers, mathematicians, and astronomers, dispute this version. Aristotle, one of the most influential philosophers, mentioned that Arcadia, in Greece, was inhabited by the Pelasgians before the arrival of the Hellenes, a civilization that preceded the appearance of Selene, the lunar goddess, indicating an era without the presence of the moon in the sky. These cultural interconnections, distant in time and space, raise the hypothesis that these myths may contain more than just legends, possibly serving as evidence. Within this context, Sumerian cosmology and the belief in the Anunnaki stand out, beings considered gods by this ancient people. Contemporary theories based on these accounts suggest that the Anunnaki could be extraterrestrial beings who came to Earth to guide us, teach us, and, according to some interpretations, even create us. A similar narrative is found in Zulu culture, which speaks of a time when the Earth was enveloped in mist, preventing the sight of the sun and the moon, and humans communicated mentally. According to them, gods with yellow eyes and scaly skin arrived in great bowls of fire, teaching them to speak, which coincided with the appearance of celestial bodies in the sky and the emergence of languages. This narrative resembles descriptions of the Reptilians, a highly advanced race that, according to some theories, secretly lives among us, occupying positions of power to manipulate society. This conception appears both in works of fiction and in conspiracy theories and ancient mythologies, as we have just explored. Recently, certain theories have gained popularity, especially due to David Icke, an influential author and speaker in the realm of conspiracy theories. Icke and his followers maintain that the Reptilians, a species of superior beings, did not come to our planet merely to share their knowledge or contribute to human advancement, as evidenced by ancient constructions like pyramids and monuments. Their purpose, according to them, is to exploit and benefit from us, though not in a literal sense, avoiding dramatic scenes of predators in the streets. They operate discreetly and effectively, starting their plan with the transfer of humans to Earth, suggesting that we are not originally from this planet. The Moon, then, would be a kind of space station or laboratory built to monitor and control us. This hypothesis is known as the intervention theory. According to this theory, we were brought from another planet as punishment for our violent nature and our inability to preserve natural resources, consuming them until they are exhausted. It is claimed that we arrived here between 60 to 200,000 years ago, had our memories erased, and our DNA altered to facilitate our adaptation, mixing it with that of beings already inhabiting the planet. One of the most intriguing arguments of this theory is our apparent ineptitude for the terrestrial environment, in contrast to other species that are born ready to survive independently, while we take years to acquire basic survival skills. Our discomfort with solar radiation and the loss of hair, compared to our primate ancestors, are cited as evidence that we are not fully adapted to this planet. Common orthopedic problems among humans, such as joint pain, are presented as indications that our evolution occurred in an environment with lower gravity. In addition to our extraplanetary origin, the theory suggests that we continue to be monitored and exploited by an advanced civilization. This includes direct influence in political, economic, and religious realms. The Moon, supposedly, is not a natural satellite but an artificial creation positioned in our orbit as a means of intergalactic control. The presence of reptilians in leadership positions implies that they need to disguise themselves, given that their physical and biological appearance is distinct from humans. The ability to metamorphose or alter our perception to hide their true form is often discussed in these theories, suggesting that they manipulate our mental perception instead of physically changing. Using technology as a means, the moon would function as a type of advanced projector that emits waves capable of interfering with our brain, preventing us from perceiving reality as it is. This idea harks back to the concept of the Matrix, where these waves not only hide the true form of the reptilians from us but also prevent us from fully understanding the world, the universe, and reality as they are perceived by other beings. Thus, the reason we have not yet fully unraveled the mysteries of the cosmos would not be our intellectual limitation or our evolutionary stage, but because we are under the influence of entities that prefer to keep us in ignorance. This pattern is typical of many conspiracy theories. But, what led these theorists to suspect the moon and suggest that something is not right with it? For them, the first clues came from ancient myths and cosmologies that indicated a period before the moon existed in the sky, suggesting its sudden appearance after the arrival of gods, extraterrestrials, or Anunnaki. The assumption is that the moon was brought by these entities. So, are ancient texts the only basis for this theory? In fact, there is more. They also rely on other indications that would reinforce these claims, fitting into the so-called hollow moon theory. This theory proposes that the moon, being hollow, would house the necessary equipment for its function and would explain its artificial creation. One of the foundations of this theory is the strange low density of the moon compared to Earth. Density differences, according to conspiracy theorists, would imply a hollow internal structure, while scientists argue that this is due to the varied composition of Earth's strata. Another piece of evidence cited are the records of lunar earthquakes captured by the seismographs of the Apollo missions, which suggested a sound similar to a bell, reinforcing the idea of a hollow moon. However, researchers explain this phenomenon by the unique geological characteristics of the satellite, which did not convince the conspiracy theorists. They argue that the uniqueness of the moon, given its synchronized rotation that always hides the same side and the precision of its eclipses, is atypical and not observed anywhere else in the solar system or the galaxy. Astronomers counter, explaining that the diameters of the moon and the sun vary, and eclipses are not always perfect, as suggested by the theory. In addition, Earth is not the only celestial body to exhibit such characteristics. Prometheus, one of Saturn's moons, displays proportions and behaviors similar to our satellite. Despite this, even scientists acknowledge that such occurrences are not common, comparable to the rarity of intelligent life, unlikely, but not impossible. Therefore, there are many arguments used to defend the idea of a hollow and artificial moon. However, the question arises, why would the reptilians choose to construct something so complex? Wouldn't it be more efficient to control directly on Earth, using simpler means to install mind control devices? As we delve deeper into the discussion, the scenario becomes more complex and ominous. The moon plays a crucial role in this plot, according to conspiracy theories, functioning as a station for a soul recycler, a mechanism intended to capture souls after death and restart them in a continuous cycle of reincarnation. However, it seems that neither our bodies nor our souls are the true target of these advanced beings, but rather our negative emotions, such as fear, anguish, and anger, considered valuable and pleasurable to them. This explains why we are seen as a species prone to violence and greed, supposedly banished from their home planet for depleting its resources, and why we are constantly involved in conflicts and natural disasters. The reptilians would be intensifying these conditions to nourish themselves on our suffering. In this way, we remain restricted and incapable of perceiving the reality of the universe, living in a sort of matrix, not as a source of energy but as emotional food, with our suffering serving as delight for these beings. This scenario is reinforced, according to theorists, by the phases of the moon, which influence not only the tides and plant growth but also human behavior. During the full and new phases, when the moon is most visible, it is believed that more conflicts, accidents, and crimes occur, increasing our susceptibility to pain and, consequently, our suffering. This phenomenon is referred to as the werewolf effect, standing out not only for the lunar influence but also as an indication of the supposed lunar soul recycling mechanism, suggested by Buddhist representations around the globe. In these, the Buddhist wheel of life symbolizes the cycles towards enlightenment and spiritual evolution, with Buddha positioned pointing to the moon, suggesting, according to some, that he could be warning about this extraterrestrial scheme. Interpreting enlightenment in Buddhism as liberation from this cycle imposed by the reptilians offers a fascinating perspective. The next point of discussion emerges with China's announcement on December 6, 2021, about the discovery made by one of its lunar probes, a cubic object on the lunar surface, initially called the Mystery Hut. For proponents of the soul recycling theory, this cube would be the physical evidence of the device used to manipulate human souls. Later, higher-resolution images revealed that the object was, in fact, a rock, which did not quell the suspicions of skeptics who argue that images can be edited or manipulated. If the allegations are true, we would be doomed to perpetuate our worst characteristics, feeding the desires of even darker entities. However, there is hope. Although mentioned figuratively, avoiding the light at the end of the tunnel would be a recommendation from theorists, as they believe it is part of the lunar mechanism and would result in our return to Earth for reincarnation. Nevertheless, there is a path to liberation by following Buddhist teachings. By improving ourselves as individuals, abandoning negative emotions and attitudes, we could eventually deprive the reptilians of their sustenance and achieve peace. As for my opinion, I remain undecided about believing in these theories. However, I consider that adopting a more positive and kind attitude, regardless of the existence or non-existence of a reptilian civilization, would contribute to a more harmonious coexistence and make the world a better place. Kindness, after all, begets kindness. Until next time.